want to do a small video on why we are learning programming using NSChart. Why not we use a programming language? Okay, so I just want to give you some idea about that. So let's go through the video. Okay, so here what I'm trying to do is I'm going to share some experiences, not much, whatever experience I have gained over the years of working on programming. I want to share with you. Okay, these are my views, which I'm going to talk about. The basic concepts, that is, this is basically what we are trying to learn at this point in time. Okay, basic concept of any programming or basically programming language is same. If you take whatever the language, the basic concepts that come into that programming language is common. Okay, so therefore programming concept is not tied up to any particular language. It's a general thing. Okay, so to learn the programming concept, I'm not talking about the language, to understand what programming concept means, you actually do not need a language. You don't have to use a language and learn. You can, but you don't have to. I prefer not to use a language and learn, and I want to share a few reasons why. Okay, so let's go. So let's see the problems in learning the basic concepts available in programming using a programming language. That is, we can use Java or C# or Python or whatever the language and try to understand the concept. So this is the first time you're doing and you're using a language and trying to understand the concept. So let's see what are the problems with that as far as I feel. Okay, first is if you are using a language to learn this, in addition to understanding the basic concepts, you have to also learn the syntax of the rule of that particular language. What are the things that language allows? How should you start? How should you end? What are the things you do? That this and other. A lot of things will come in which you have to learn, which has nothing to do with the concepts. Okay, so you will be put up with a lot of burden to first learn all that to get into do something and understand what programming means. So you see this additional concept of syntax also comes in. So that is one of the problem. And when the syntax also comes in, as you are a newcomer, you have the syntax and you have the concepts, and you will have very confusing thoughts as to what is concept and what is the syntax, and there are a lot of issues like that. So let's assume, okay, that you're going to do that. That is, you're going to learn a language and start to learn the concept through that. So you are going to try and understand the language. So you learn a particular language, whatever the language, and now you are using that language to understand what this programming concept means. Okay, what are the things that a programming allows you to do? That is what programming concept is. Okay, so since this is your first time experience in learning the concepts, if this is the first language you are learning and this is the first time you're going into programming, you are trying to learn programming concept through that particular language. Okay, so you have to obviously learn the syntax, and now you have done the syntax and everything, and now you're working through, right? So since this is your first time learning, you will not be able to separate and understand which part is the concept of programming and which part is the syntax of the program, because you are learning the concept through this programming language. So obviously you have to go through the syntax also. No? So you will see the syntax part as well as the concept part, and you will not be able to separate them and understand, this is the concept part, this is the syntax part. The reason is syntax will differ from computer program to program, programming language to programming language. Each language will have different syntax, but the concept in all the language will be same. But since this is the only language you are using, and you are using both the syntax as well as the concept together and trying to learn this, you won't know which part is the syntax and which part is the concept. So you will have a confusion there. And that is going to be a real problem when you go into a new language, when you're trying to learn another language. After the first language, you're trying to learn a second language, and probably in the second language also, you might expect some of the syntax in this language to be there also, because you didn't know those were syntax, and you may have thought those are concepts. So that is the dangerous part, right? So once you learn from a language, understand the concept also, and that's the only language you know, you won't know the difference between the concept and the language. So when you're trying to learn another language, your original first language's syntax you might expect in this language also to be there, because you are thinking that's a concept. So you will actually not really understand what is a concept, because you are learning not only the concept, you are also learning the syntax. Both are being learned together. So you won't be able to separate them. You're not experienced enough to understand that. So that is another problem when you learn a concept using a programming language. Okay. So also learning the syntax of a programming language will be applicable to only that language, because if you learn a syntax of a language, programming language, it will apply only to that language. But the concept will be there in other languages also, but the syntax will not be there. Okay, when you want to go into another language, you will have to learn that language syntax anyhow. So that is, but here the issue is you can't separate the two and understand. Okay, this is the concept part, this is the syntax part. You will have a confusion like that. Okay, this is something I faced from my initial learning. So that's why I'm sharing with you.